This episode of Between Two Burns is brought to you by the Pipe and Pint. Indulge in the finer things in life with our premium selection of cigars, wine, and pipe tobacco. Visit us at any of our brick-and-mortar locations or shop online at thepipeandpint.net. Mix and match 20 cigars for 10% off and enjoy free shipping on all orders over $150. From Rocky Patel to Drew Estate, we carry all your favorite brands. Must be 21 or older to purchase. The Pipe and Pint, elevating your relaxation experience. Now, enjoy the show.
It's the holiday season.
The holiday season.
Do.
And hickory dock.
I'm not going to finish the rest of that. But shout out Matt White. When he's listening to this podcast, he's 100% going to finish it in his truck because he does
exactly right.
He'll know exactly what
That's
it is.
exactly right.
No one else needs to know, but we're all set. Episode 4, Between Two Burns. We got it cooking, man. The holidays are upon us.
They are upon us. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as we're going to be. This is obviously the biggest year for cigar retailers, or not biggest year, biggest time of the year for cigar retailers all over the country. We have seen a very healthy start to the holidays.
Yeah,
Lots of
Thanksgiving
traffic.
was great.
Thanksgiving was
great. A lot
great.
of people
Black
travel. It feels
Friday.
like we're kind of back,
Back into the groove of everything, for sure.
Yeah.
We talk about this with a lot of our reps and different people who kind of ask us how the year goes, but the beginning of the year, right after the first year, is kind of our slowest time. The way that our weather is here and the way our stores are located with the store at the beach and everything like that. But it ramps up, kind of a leveling in the summertime local stores, but our stores at the coast and everything pick up. And then just a major push all the way. Once school gets back in, we see that immediately in our numbers that time of the year is upon us.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this time of year, I mean, Black Friday was awesome. We had a lot of great sales. We had a lot of people come through, people buying wine and cigars and everything for Thanksgiving. We even led up to that with a pipe show, which was awesome.
Pipe show was great. Biggest pipe show ever.
Yeah, it was
incredible. A lot of
incredible.
guys showed up for it.
Yeah, if you were listening and you came, thank you so much for coming. Shout out to the Get Piped podcast guys.
Yep,
Adam,
they were out.
It was great to see you, buddy. But yeah, it was just a great time. Thank you to Loud DZ and Joel for coming out and doing that. Peterson and Savinelli, I mean, it was awesome. But the start, when we had that, it was like, boom. And now we can't blink because if we blink, it's going to be over with.
Yeah, 2024 has flown by.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear people say, it's gone quick. But it just feels like the time is passing so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a good thing when time feels like it's passing quickly. I mean, it's not good in the sense that you feel like you've not kind of stopped to smell the roses, but it means we've got things going on. Things are cooking. People are in and out. The day flies by when you're slinging cigars and pouring glasses of wine. And, our online sales were huge. Shipment of stuff went out on Monday. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's not like the time has gone by and the year's gone like COVID, right? Like with COVID, it's like those are the lost years. Like I can't tell you what happened during COVID because it was just crazy.
If I have to recall anything that took place from early 2020 until the end of 2022, I assume it took place somewhere between 7 and 9 years ago. That's
right.
What it feels like to me.
Yeah, my anniversary, my 5th year anniversary was in October, and I bookmarked this with I got married in October of 2019. COVID hits in March the next year. My daughter was born in November of 22. I was still wearing a mask in the hospital, but they didn't really care anymore, and we could have visitors, so I felt like the restrictions had been lifted. So that's how I bookend it. But everything in between that, no idea.
I know how long you've been married, but if somebody came up and asked me, I would have said your wedding was 15 years ago. That's how long ago.
Fair.
It feels like not in a bad way. It's just like the way time passes. A little off topic of what we're going to talk about, but we brought up the pipe show. Where do you think pipes are at right now?
Oh, buddy,
I know that it's a completely different podcast, but I was just so impressed, and not necessarily surprised, but just the number of guys who came through and gals for the pipe show.
So the thing I always tell people, like we'll have customers come in and say, do that many people really smoke a pipe? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But you don't ever see them doing it in public.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where people don't believe us almost. But there's so many people that do it. There's a big community
the guys are
around
just
it.
hanging out and
There was
smoking pipe.
there. Stop.
Yeah, sorry, Pipe. Yes.
But no, it was really cool to see because there was a couple customers that are in some pipe groups that spread the word, and all these people showed up. And I mean, we had some really cool old vintage blends, and all this stuff going on with Sutliff and McBaron and STG, which is a whole nother podcast. All that's happening.
Yeah, we're going to get into that for sure in a podcast of its own.
But all the tobacco that we had was a lot of old Sutliff McBaron blends, and it made those blends even more special.
Yep.
A lot of the vintage tins we had were Sutliff, and so it was just really cool to see all these people come together. I will say in years past, we shut down the lounge for the pipe show, and most of the time people come in and out. Nobody really stays and smokes.
Yeah.
Well, by 11:30, like the seats weren't arranged in the lounge like normal. They were on the walls. Everybody was sitting where they could.
Yep.
There were people sitting in the halls. There were people standing in the halls. There were people up front. I mean, it was just
it's cool to see.
It was a really good time. So I think the state of the pipe industry outside of this whole thing going on with Sutliff is actually really good. I think it's thriving. Personally, I mean,
I do too.
We sell on average like a pipe a day. I mean,
it's crazy to think. Yeah, I mean,
and
the average person might. It's not like, oh, you sell one pipe a day. It's like, that's a lot of pipes. One pipe a day is a lot of pipes.
It's absolutely. I mean, our least expensive pipe is $50.
Yeah.
But most of our pipes range from $100 to $200. I mean, that's not a
in
small
some
amount of
cases
money.
going up to that
It's
$300,
not
$400,
like a
$500
cigar where it's a consumable either. Like once you have the pipe, as long as you take care of it, it can last you a lifetime.
Yeah.
So selling a pipe a day is pretty crazy when you think about it.
It's really good. Well, I led you off topic, but I was very curious as to what your thoughts were because it was such a successful event and everything like that. So, episode 4, we have a little bit of a shtick we're going to do it today. We kind of tasked each other with coming up with some framework and some things we want to do coming off the holidays, some thankful for and some Christmas wish list stuff. But before that, let's start smoking and let's start drinking. So, we are smoking something. We've done this for the last 2 years. Kind of came up with this idea, shtick, if you will, last year. Aganorsa's done it for both iterations of it. We call it stocking stuffer. Last year, we really just did it we did it in 2 formats last year. We have the tube every year with Santa Claus. We've got it right here. And then we do it in a 3-pack. So we've got the 3-packs back again this year, and we're doing it as the bundle. But this year, a little bit different cigar than last year. They're not the same, obviously. This one, last year's was great. This one's been a big hit so far early. Really good cigar.
Yeah, so Aganorsa is the one that produced it. It is what we think, because they don't tell us on these things. We can reference back to last podcast episode if you want to hear about house blends.
Yep.
Maduro wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's a Corona Gorda size. I'd say probably 5.5, 5 3/4 by 46, 48, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I think it's 46.
Yeah. Really, really nice cigar. Medium full bodied, spice up front, but it's got a great cocoa note. You get some nice toasted grain, that Aganorsa signature kind of toastiness. Leather, coffee, you get a little bit of earth. You know, when we first saw it, we thought it looked a lot like the Illusione CG4. I don't think that's what it is. That's not what it tastes like to me. It has some Night Watch, Guardian of the Farm Night Watch vibes to me. But it may not be that either.
Yeah.
You know, all we can tell you is that Maduro wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler, Aganorsa made it. They're great cigars, like Jason said. Like you said, I just did that thing. That's my bad. No, sorry.
Wacky FM radio DJ guy right there.
That's exactly right. We've got it in the tube with Santa on it, smoking a cigar, wearing Ray-Bans. We do them in 3-packs and we do them in bundles. And they're stocking, like we came up with the name stocking stuffer for a reason. They're meant, like the tubes are self-contained. The 3-packs have Bovedas in them.
Yep.
The bundles not so much, but that's more for the person that really likes it and the cigar, smoker that's going to buy it for themselves. But these are great for gifts. They're great if you need to take them to a holiday party or, something like that. They're just really good cigars. And
it's something we like to do because it's something where you can come in if you're new to cigars or you're buying a gift for somebody. You're buying a gift for a coworker or a friend. family member that you know they smoke cigars, but you're not out typically buying cigars, so you don't know, what they like. So we've kind of done these as a way. It's like you're going to grab the cigar. The cigar's going to be good. It's not a second. It's not damaged or anything like that. It's not super, super strong. It's not going to knock you over. It's a very approachable cigar, but it's something where if I came into the shop not being a customer, but not knowing anything about cigars, and I wanted to give these to you, my friend, I would feel comfortable and confident that you're going to like the cigar. It's of that quality.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you. And I mean, at the end of the day, when we do something like this, we do want it to be approachable for everybody.
Yeah.
Because, and we'll get into this a little bit, but at the holidays, we get a lot of people that come in and they're buying cigars for someone, but 9 times out of 10, they have no idea what they smoke.
That's right.
Luckily, we do have the loyalty point system. We get people's phone numbers and we can look up their purchase history.
Yep.
But if we don't have that, the best we can do is, do you know if it's lighter or darker? Do you know a brand name? Like how long of a cigar they're looking for? And usually the answer is, I don't know. That's when it's great to have something like this because, 1, it's on theme, but 2, it's a great cigar that is approachable for everybody.
Yeah. So you can pick it up at any of the stores, but it's also available on the website. Like we said, individual tubes, 3 packs, and buy the bundle. You're not going to be disappointed. So really good cigar. We had a lot of cool stuff on Black Friday, right? We had
somebody
we gave away
bought a
koozies.
laser.
So I bought a laser, bought a laser beam. Sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads. I get hot for some kitschy product, and I have to have it because I don't know if it's not cheapskate because would never describe myself as that, but I like us saving the money and doing things ourselves so we can be creative. We started doing this with t-shirts, so we didn't do these huge runs. We started pressing our own.
There's a lot more freedom.
There's a lot more freedom to it. We can do different designs and everything like that. So we got the laser. We're able to put some stuff on it. So we did ash cans for Black Friday. We've done cutters. We're doing some slate coasters for our wine event for the Medbin store. So it's been fun. The laser beam is working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Well, you know what that means.
One of the hardest working employees I got.
Hey, you just need a bigger laser.
I mean, I do need a big. This is a very cost effective Amazon version of this laser. Okay, the lasers, the laser. I'm not gonna already be getting laser envy. This laser is fine for now. But yeah.
Next is a 3D printer.
3D printer, yeah. 3D. I'm not sure what we're going to 3D print for the cigar shop. Listen, we already talked about I lasered a cigar.
Yeah.
And it came out pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
We haven't toyed with it since because we've been doing all the things for the holidays. But like you said, it's a great way to have the freedom to be able to do these things for our customers without taking down huge orders of things that sit around. Like, you know how the printing business is with any of the partners we work with to do this stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, well, you can print it on there. It's going to be X per, but you need to buy 1,000 of them. Well, it may take years in some instances, depending on what the product is, to go through 1,000. If we can do them on demand or, 5 or 6 backups at a time, it's just a huge benefit to us dollar-wise, and it's a huge benefit to the customer because we can always offer it. Mm-hmm. So I like it a lot. Yeah, Black Friday was great.
Speaking
we
of
did
Black
T-shirts. We did koozies for all the customers and everything like that.
I was going to say, speaking of Black Friday, we did
so
Bourbon
that's
County.
what that was. I was trying to do the
old
professional segue into. We're getting there with the segues and the transitions. But Goose Island, Bourbon County, every year on Black Friday, for as long as I can remember. Has it always been a Black Friday release?
As long as I can remember.
Yeah.
It's changed over the years. I think I've told you before, I remember the days where I would get here and there would be people 30 deep outside just standing out waiting to get Bourbon County when we open the doors. It's not like that anymore.
It's that is a podcast maybe we'll do sometime too about kind of the state. And it's not a knock on Goose Island or any
it's just
beer
the state
brewery.
Of the beer
it's
industry.
Just the state of the beer industry at the moment. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it was always a Black Friday, has always been a Black Friday thing, and they do the original and then they also do variants, and the variants have always been really hard to get. Not so much in recent years, but I remember in years past, if you had a variant around here, you were a king because you could trade it for whatever you wanted. But this year, the variants that we got were the vanilla rye and the macaroon. So the macaroon was done with candy ginger, coconut, and cocoa nibs aged in a bourbon barrel. That's what I'm drinking tonight.
Which one do you have? I'm sorry.
This is the macaroon.
The macaroon, yeah.
It's really good. It's sweet. And, I used to be a big stout guy. I think I've told you that before. Yep. That's all I would drink. I quit doing that. You can ask my friends about it, about all of the stouts that I used to take on the boys' weekend, and we drink like 4 of them and feel full, and we'd stop. You can't do it.
I'm kind of in the middle of the road. There's some I like a lot, some I just don't care for. But man, you're right there, dude. Like, they can.
It's dinner in a glass.
Dude, buddy, it can be like sitting and eating a loaf of heavy grain bread. Like, it can sit like a ton of bricks in you. So it's hard for the boys' weekend. You're not going to the beach.
Especially when you're talking bourbon barrel aged.
Yeah.
14, 15, 16% stouts. We're not talking about Guinness. And this is I think it's 14.6 or somewhere around there % stout. Like, it's a one and done kind of thing. But every year I always read what the ratings are. Yeah. And usually the ratings, the number one rated bourbon county every year is always one that we can't get, either due to the ABC laws with the ABV cap.
So I was going to bring that up. So interesting set of circumstances for this year is because we always get the regular, and then is it always 4 variants, or is it just kind of
varies?
It varies in the variants.
It varies.
But 2 we could not get this year because they were over North Carolina's ABV.
So
cap.
we couldn't get the Bardstown barrel finished one, and we could not get the Proprietor's barley wine. And then I didn't realize it until I was doing some reading. There was actually another one that they aged in King of Kentucky barrels, which is like a really, really hard to get bourbon.
Yeah.
That was at the brewery only. But it usually the way the ratings work is the one that's the best is the one you can't get.
Yeah.
This year, the one that was the best was either the macaroon or the vanilla rye.
Oh, that's
and I was like, well,
okay.
I hadn't had a stout in a while. We have some.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go. I'm glad I did. It's really good. They're expensive, but 15%, hard to get, really good. I think it's worth it.
Yeah. So tonight you asked me what I was going to drink, and I wasn't sure. I was going to have a glass of wine. You said you want to try something different, and you broke this out for me. So I'm going to let you talk about it because I knew we brought it in. I know people have been raving about it, but I didn't know anything about it. I've had it so far. It's unbelievably good.
Yeah, so this is the Coderone, the Kermit Lynch Coderone red blend. So Kermit Lynch is one of the most famous importers of wine in the U.S., maybe of all time. And he became so popular, from the way that I understand it, that he actually now is bottling and putting his name on the best wine that he finds. So how we found this was our rep from one of our companies came in and did a wine tasting, and he had 3 what he considered holiday bottles, inexpensive bottles that were really good that hit above their weight class, right?
Yeah.
And this was one of them, and this was the big standout. It's a French blend. It's got 7 different grapes in them. I'd have to look at the bottle to remember what all of them are, but it comes from the Rhone Valley. The Côte-Rhône is a region in France, like we were talking about. I'm not a big French wine guy, and I know you're not either.
Yep.
But of the 3, we tried a Rioja, we tried that, and we tried a Paso Robles Cab, and I just assumed I'd like the Paso Robles Cab the most. I didn't. And that's one of my favorite wines that I've tried all year. It retails at $19.99 a bottle. I would take it to any holiday gathering.
Yeah, when you told me that with the pricing on it was a bit. Yeah, and I listen. I probably don't try enough French wine, to be honest with you, to really know whether. I just drink so much California, and it's what you know. I'd love to tell you that I know everything about the details and the cigars we've got in the humidor, the wine that we've got in the wine room, and the beer. That's just not true. We have so much stuff coming in and out. I task you guys with knowing that, and I'll take care of the other things. But it's excellent, and I don't have much experience with Côte-Rhône. I'm just. The name Kermit Lynch doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, funny enough, he actually has a lot more wines, and we brought some, and I think you saw them, we brought some other Beaujolais Cru wines in for Thanksgiving because, it's past Thanksgiving now, but if you're ever having turkey, Gamay from Beaujolais is a fantastic wine to pair with it. You want something light, something like Pinot Noir. You don't want a big cab because turkey's light and delicate and the flavors are more delicate. So we brought in this Kermit Lynch Beaujolais, and Beaujolais is a growing region in France, and all they're growing is Gamay. It's one type of grape, and they're kind of known for this thing called Beaujolais Nouveau Day. Nouveau being new, so they release the new vintage. They make it a different way they like pressurize it with carbon dioxide or something like that. It's weird. I was reading about it briefly, and I can't recite it. I need to do some more reading on it. But Beaujolais Nouveau is the newest vintage of Beaujolais, and it's only about 6 weeks old. So they have a day celebrating Beaujolais Nouveau, the new vintage from Beaujolais, but then they also have Cru Beaujolais, which is aged or older Gamay. That's what this was, and it was Kermit Lynch Beaujolais, and I brought it in, and it was gone in a day. And then I brought more in, and it was gone. And, I mean, people, to my surprise, just really, our customer base knows Kermit Lynch, even though he's new to me. And maybe he shouldn't be, but nobody's ever brought him by before, and we don't sell a lot of French wine or really, I mean, we don't sell a lot of wine out of California in general for the most part. We're very California-centric here.
Yep.
And so it was just really cool. It was a really cool case study. It was really good to find a bottle that, like I said, it's appealing to someone who drinks California, bigger cabs like yourself. It's appealing to someone who drinks lighter Pinots. It's obviously appealing to people who drink French wine. It's a red blend, so it's got something for everybody. And at $19.99 a bottle, I mean, I'd pay $30 for it. I think it's fantastic.
Sure, yeah. And some of the customers that I've heard raved about it are not customers who I would say typically shop in the $19 a bottle range. Now that there's loads and loads of great wine at that price point, but some of these customers just happen to purchase at a little bit higher of a price point. So,
and when they do, it's usually California.
Correct.
But this was one of those bottles where it was easy to say to them, hey, you want something fun and new? By the way, you've only got to spend $20 on it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to gamble a lot of money on this to see if you're actually going to like it. And they did, and they have liked it. And that's the fun part about the job is finding things that people hadn't had before and letting them be able to try it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. So I look forward to finishing the entire bottle while we're live on the air tonight. So we talked about this earlier, what we wanted to do. So we had a little shtick. We're between holidays here. We're past Thanksgiving, but we're before Christmas, depending on how you're listening to this. We'll kind of date it a little bit. And we talked about a little bit of a format we wanted to do. So we talked about having a few topics from each of us that we're thankful for, not to sound cheesy, but thankful for in the business that we're in, the cigar business, we'll say. And then a kind of a Christmas wish list of what we'd like to see going forward. I thought it'd be kind of a cool exercise and kind of where everything is at a little bit with cigar business. And it doesn't have to be cigars, beer, wine, whatever we want to talk about. But it's a way for us to kind of forecast a little bit out. It was what we're looking for from, I think it's nice to have it from two different views. So I come at it from the business owner's perspective. I'm lucky enough to be the owner of this, and we've got 5 stores. There's different things that I've got to think about on a daily basis than what you guys have to think about, in a sense of like what each of us are kind of tasked with handling to make sure that we are running, in a good fashion. So coming at it from two different angles, I think is really cool. And it's a way for me to kind of see where your head's at and what you think is going on and where we may come together, and may we see differently about what we think, looks good about the business. So, thankful for, I'll kick it off a little bit. So, and I wasn't really sure, and I'm not sure that you were very sure either about kind of what we mean by thankful for. Because I'm not even necessarily, but one of the things, and I'll start it off, one of the things that I'm thankful for, quote unquote, in the cigar business is that the cigar business has still held on to tradition. Okay? There's still this very close connection to the past in cigars, whether it's the Cuban heritage, Dominican, Nicaraguan. You see a lot of people who are in the business that are still connected to that, still working in that. You're going to get to meet some of those people when you go off to Nicaragua in a few months. I love that continues to be a thing in the business, that it has not become totally, and it has in some ways. I'm not totally letting it off the hook, but there is still very much a connection to small brands and even bigger brands that take a very old world approach to do it. Now, I'm going to say that with a very much caveat when we get to wish list. Some of these things I'm going to tell you are going to look, I think it sounded like the naked eye, that they're a little contradicting, but I promise that there's a way that they all kind of mesh together, if that makes sense.
So tradition, the Cuban, Nicaraguan, Dominican, Honduran, all of these people are very proud people. They're proud of their traditions and they hold tight to them. And we do see that in the cigar industry, and I think it's one of the few industries that you see it in. One of the other industries you see it in is the wine industry, and so it's cool to be able to see it in both ways. But tobacco and grapes and beer, for that matter, too, if you want to talk Belgian, have been around for so long, and you can always continue to perfect your craft. But the question becomes, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, like, how necessary is it to reinvent the wheel?
Right.
I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later and talk about innovation in the industry, but like we talked about in the last episode, these are handmade products that take a long time to grow, that have a very, very, very large human touch too. Like, no pun intended, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, everything from planting the seeds to harvesting the tobacco to rotating the pilons during fermentation to rolling the cigars to making the boxes to boxing them. Like we talked about, there's no automation to it. There's no, they've come over the years to adopt new agriculture techniques and new scientific approaches with crossing varietals of tobacco to eliminate blue mold and other things like that. But at the end of the day, they're still using the old Cuban way of making cigars.
Yeah. And that is one of those things that I'm glad, while changing in ways, that it's still there. You're going to find some brands that we may not do business with, or we've never seen their production, that could be so small that they're doing it in a very old world way. Like, very much the same people who may be working on planting and harvesting are very much the same people who may be working on rolling and that kind of thing, that it's very tight and small knit of a business.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about pipes. Pipes are the same way too. Now, there's a little bit more automation to that, but brands that were established in North Carolina, I don't even know how long ago, Dr. Graybo, they're still around. People still come in and ask for them. People still ask for the legacy brands, Sir Walter Raleigh and Granger and Prince Albert and Captain Black. And so, it's cool to see, because...
Was Prince Albert in a can?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
it was. It's cool to see because, like, I know for me anyways, like, my grandfather smoked a pipe. And I inherited all of his pipes a few years ago. I still have them. But he used to get his tobacco from a place in Greensboro what used to be Carolina Circle Mall. And they had a blend there, and it was like Carolina Delight, I think was the name of it. And I tried to figure out what Carolina Delight was until one day I realized that I was overthinking it, and I brought him some 1Q. And guess what Carolina Delight was?
1Q.
It was 1Q.
Yeah.
The thing that the number one pipe tobacco we sell more than anything else.
Yep.
So, steeped in tradition, I'm not to take your thankful thing, but I too am thankful for that. It's really cool to see in a time that is so much. It's always fast paced, moving forward, automated. What can AI do? What can we do to be more innovative? Like, this is still old school.
Yeah, it very much is. The other thing, one of the other things I was, quote unquote, thankful for again, is I appreciate that there has been, now it's not perfect, and I don't think it ever will be. We've seen a level of stability in the cigar industry from a government standpoint, from a business standpoint. We're coming out of COVID. There's been a certain level of brevity to it, if you get what I'm saying. So that is one of those things that I'm thankful for. Like, we can kind of take a breather coming out of COVID and see what's on the horizon a little bit and what's been happening. then that is probably for the business owner's perspective, and it, and it may even be from your perspective as well, because I consider you very much a student of both. Like, you work in the customer service and sales industry when you're selling cigars, but you very much know the business aspect of it as well. That's probably the number one thing that scares everybody in the cigar business. It should be probably right from the cigar smoker all the way back to the cigar manufacturer, is federal regulation ultimately probably is what decides cigars' fate, whether it's now 10, 20, 50, 100 years ever. That's probably the number one thing. But we've seen this kind of level of stability, knock on wood, recently over the last couple of years. That may be because there's bigger fish to fry.
Sure.
Which,
that's fine with us.
Kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
What's the old adage? If you're being chased by a bear, you don't have to be the fastest. You just don't have to. You just got to be faster than the slowest guy.
That's exactly.
You know what I mean? It's got that kind of vibe to it sometimes, because we're certainly not in any sort of clear. There's things are going to change all the time. We talked about this before. We went through an election cycle. We're going to have a new president come early next year. Who knows how that plays out over the course of 4 years, if that stays in that same direction going forward. So it can turn on a dime. And when you're talking federal regulation or anything government related, it can turn on one person. Mm-hmm. One person has a different view of things for you, can make a big change. But thankfully, for a while now, we've been in some calm waters where, you have wartime presidents and you have presidents at time of peace, but I feel like we're kind of at a peacetime. But
I'll never forget 2014 when the deeming regulations came down, and FDA was going to be regulating cigars, and there was all the talk of predicate, right? Like, all cigars that came out after 2007 had to be taken off the shelf and registered with the FDA. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? At the time where we were even more of a boutique store, that was like 85% of the humidor, because all of these brands were new.
Brand new, yeah.
You think about Flor de la Sentilla is gone, right? Like, some of the older Pepin brands would be okay, but Flor de la Sentilla is gone. Perdomo was going to be okay. Rocky, though. Rocky had some that was okay, some that weren't. And then you had new stuff like Espinosa, like Crowned Heads. Like, these guys didn't come on the scene until after 2002.
That's right.
Viaje.
Yep.
And you're talking kaput. And there would be no more... that would have killed innovation, again, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It would have absolutely put a lot of brands out of business and whatnot. And thankfully, due to lawsuits and everything, we made it through that. And just a month or two ago, the cigar industry got another huge win, and a judge basically told the FDA that they can't regulate cigars under the definition that they had given in their original documents. So now we're at this place where, like you said, we have a new president coming in. There's going to be a new head of Health and Human Services, head of FDA. They seem to be much more focused on food additives and whatnot than anything else. I was talking to my dad about it. He's involved in the chemical industry. He works for Ecolab. I was asking him what they think about that. He was saying it doesn't seem to them like they're as worried about those sorts of things because they're so worried about food additives and the healthy food and all that kind of stuff. So that bodes well for them, just like it bodes well for us. Food industry, who knows? That all may change, but that's, that affects us personally. But from a business perspective, it's kind of a good thing.
They're trying to take the Dr. Peppers out again.
Hey, what if they put real sugar in Dr. Pepper?
Big fan, buddy. Yeah. Big fan. Get it very select space. You used to be able to, I don't know if you can. I think you can actually still. You can buy it in the bottle. You see that in places or whatever. But Jason's Deli, the restaurant, has it as fountain.
Real sugar Dr. Pepper? Mm-hmm. And they have free ice cream?
And they... Well, you sound like, first of all, I don't... You sound like my daughter. Let's go to Jason's Deli because they have free ice cream. It's like, no, honey, you got to pay $1 more for a sandwich because they know you're getting the ice cream at the end.
I don't care. It feels good.
It really does. It 100% does. It 100% does. thankful for. This is going to sound cheesy, like I'm pandering to the audience here, whatever. Very thankful for customers and the staff that we have. You included, all the guys and gals who work in the Pipe and Pint umbrella. COVID time, that 3-year, 4-year span, or whatever. We've talked about this when you and I kind of talk business, and me was a boom for cigars, but it wasn't a genuine uptick in boom, in my opinion, if that makes sense. It wasn't artificial in the sense that like it just went away, but
it wasn't sustainable.
It wasn't sustainable, right? But we're coming out of 2023 and we're going to have a good year. And you could see as soon as 2024, what year are we in? We're in 2024. 2024 is a good year. My fault. 24 is going to be a great year coming off of 23, which was a banner year, coming off of 22, which was a banner year up to that time, coming off of 21, which is a banner year, right? So to still see customers coming in a fashion, and you and I talk about this a lot of times when we, we're going to, talk behind the scenes a little bit, but when we track data for customers and we are able to capture information, one of the big things that I like to look at is the number of transactions, the number of people through the door. Obviously, dollars make a lot of sense, but sometimes that can be misleading. It's not as misleading for us.
Dollars can cover up sin.
That's right. You can make up a lot with one big purchase in any given day or anything like that. So we're going to have more people come through the door in 2024 than we had in 2023, which had more than 2022. That's a really big deal because we know, talking to representation, talking to manufacturer owners, talking to other retailers that we're friendly with, that there's clearly been a softening in the business overall. So to still see customers coming through, appreciate what we do, appreciate what you guys in the shop do, is thankful for us because, listen, as much as we'd love to do this for a hobby, this is a business. So we've got to have folks coming through liking what we do to sustain, to have everybody here all the time and everything like that. So that is number one thing.
Yeah, I think the biggest compliment we can get outside of the return customer, obviously, and the keeping of coming back, is when people buy merch and stuff because they're proud to wear our logo and our name on a T-shirt or a hat.
I love some merch.
I know you do.
We push, don't push the merch, but we love putting merch out. We like doing different things. We did holiday T-shirts this year. We did holiday koozies. We did golf T-shirts last year. We do things like
we try to make it cool.
Stuffers.
We try to make it cool. Fun.
Yeah, but we love you going out and hanging at a bar if you're not at a place or a restaurant or hanging with your friends and you got a Pipe and Pint hat on, Pipe and Pint T-shirt, Pipe and Pint koozie, whatever it is, because you may be introducing that to a new customer, but we just like being part of what you think of when you're having a good time.
Yeah, if you got a Pipe and Pint sticker on your fridge in your man cave,
cooler,
and
whatever it is,
you look at it when you go grab a beer while you're smoking a cigar, and you like that's awesome. Or, it sounds silly, like I genuinely get happy when I see people walk through the door that have a hat on or a shirt
Absolutely.
on. It's just it's cool to see and it's cool to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So for me, and I know it is the same for you, but our staff here, all you guys, I'm thankful for another great year that we get to keep doing what we're doing. We got cool stuff coming in 25. So that's always going to, sound cheesy, but like I said, like we're pandering or something like that. But it's true. Like the people coming through are number one.
Yeah.
Number one.
Well, my thankful list is a little bit more, I don't want to say personal because you were obviously personally thankful for those things, but mine, like I got a little sentimental.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know.
Boy. Do I need Kleenex? Am I going to
cry?
You
might. I might. I don't know. We'll see.
Don't cry. They're
tough.
going to turn you into,
You're
going to turn you into one of those Jordan cry memes. Man.
That's right. So the first thing that came to mind with what I'm thankful for in this industry and whatnot is being able to do something I love every single day. And there's the old adage, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I get where people come from. I mean, work's still work. You know, there's good days and bad days, but I promise you, having worked in what I worked in the past, the good days are much better than the old good days, and the bad days are much less worse than the old bad days. But it
couldn't have been that bad being an exotic dancer for that long.
Yeah, well, you know, me and the pole didn't get along.
Don't ever say that out loud again.
Well, funny enough, what I was going to talk about next is what I went to college for, so that's a great segue.
There you go.
So the personal aspect of this, and this is really ironic now. For those of you that don't know, I went to school to be a pastor, and I'm not going to talk about religion. You know, this podcast isn't about politics and religion. But I had that as my goal in life since I was in 8th grade. So like for the longest time, that's what I was going to do. I was going to be a pastor. It's what I wanted to do throughout high school. It's what I wanted to do when I got to college. It's what I went to college for. Graduate college. Wasn't quite there anymore. Not exactly what I wanted to do anymore for a multitude of reasons. But I needed a job. And so, as you know, I started a job at the Guilford County Clerk's Office, being a clerk. I was working in criminal law, doing clerk paperwork. And I mean, it was fine. I actually enjoyed it some. Like, I enjoyed the law aspect of it. I enjoyed learning about how the law works and everything. And I did it long enough to where I met a lot of cool people. I know most of the judges in the area. Yep. I know a lot of attorneys in the area. And it was a state job. I never had to worry about a paycheck. I didn't have to worry about numbers. I didn't have to worry about anything. I just had to show up at 8 o'clock, and I got to leave at 5 o'clock, and I left work at work, and that was that. But it was miserable for me because it's not something I ever wanted to do. I tried to find what little joy in it that I could, and some days were okay, and I made a lot of good friends while I was there, and they helped out, but it wasn't what I was passionate about. And then I became a magistrate. As you know, I left the clerk's office to become a magistrate, and I will never forget, I started at the magistrate's office in January. Actually, it was February 1st, and I was training, and I was on first shift, and I was working, and it was about, 9 o'clock in the morning, and my phone dings, and I look down, and it's a message from Larry Christopher on March the 1st that said, "Hey, E, just wanted to let you know, effective this morning, I've sold the Pipe and Pint to Jason Tipton." And he said something to me, and I'm going to talk about this next. He said, "A good friend, it's hard to find good friends, but you're one of those few, and I'm thankful for you."
You are something to make people cry.
I am. And I was like, holy crap. Like, because I'd been working here for 5 years part-time. I tried to come on full-time at one point, but Larry just didn't have a spot for me. So I was like, what is happening? So I rushed over here right after work, talked to you, and, said I'd be glad to work part-time. And it just so happened to work out that I got to come on part-time, and I'd work here part-time on the weeks that I was off from the magistrate's office. And it was really cool. And then after about 6 months, it evolved into a full-time gig, and that was 5 years ago, and now we're here. And so for me, this place, this industry has been such an intricate part of my life. Like, I worked here when I got married, when I had my first kid, like all the crap I went through before that. I always had this place to lean on. And so I have a deeper love for it, and specifically this place, than I feel like a lot of people do, just because it's not, I'm going to go Dunder Mifflin, right? Like, it's not just a job. It's not just a place. It's home for me, No, yeah. You like that, didn't you? But I'm super thankful.
My bad.
Super thankful for that. And, excited to see where it goes. But number two, and something that comes out of that, and it goes along with your customers, I'm thankful for the friends that I've made along the way.
Oh,
right?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's not just milk guy and
an Opus guy.
Like, I think about, I need a good name for gambling guy.
Yeah, well, let's not call him that. We'll take that offline, then we'll prove it. I've got some guys. Yeah, we'll have to get that
He's going,
approved.
you son of a, right now. He's listening to this, cussing me right now.
Yeah.
But, one of my best friends. And I wouldn't have met any of these people if it weren't for working here. And that segues me into the third thing that I'm thankful for. And I think it's something that we're all thankful for as cigar smokers. And that's the experiences that we share together. And, I always say cigars bring people together. And that is very evident in the lounge on any given day. I mean, the lounge lizards that come in at 12 o'clock in the afternoon are ex-military, ex-lawyer, ex-police officer, all these different things, liberal, conservative, whatever name you want to put
French guy.
Well, there is a French guy.
We call him out because he ain't listening to the podcast.
No, he ain't listening to the podcast. He won't let us rent his beach house either.
That's right.
But, they sit in here every single day, and I would venture to guess that if it weren't for cigars, there's absolutely no way they'd be friends. And it's the same thing.
There's not a chance on earth that 4 of them that I can think off of the top of my head two of them would give the other 2 a time of the day.
Absolutely.
But if for this lounge, they genuinely like each other.
They do. They do.
But out in the wild, they would have never come together.
No, they wouldn't have. And it's the same thing with the afternoon crowd. And it goes outside of that. Like having the ability to sell someone something, knowing that they're going to enjoy this thing while they're hanging out with their friends, while they're celebrating the birth of their child, while they're celebrating their wedding, their anniversary, or because it's a Tuesday and they had a bad day and they need to relax and want some peace of mind, that brings fulfillment to me. And I am super thankful for that because having gone to school to be a pastor, like the one thing that I carry with me from that is the love that I just have for people in general, like and their general well-being.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I want everybody to be happy and enjoy life, and like that sounds so stupid, but it's true. Like and if I can make someone's day by selling them a cigar and they're giving me money to do it, and that's helping me put food on my table, that's never a bad day.
Yeah, and I appreciate the money piece of that.
Yeah, me too. Trust me. And so does my wife. And so does my daughter because she's only 2, but she's already expensive.
Right. Christmas is coming, man.
That's exactly right. So, they all tie together, and that's just a very small 3-thing list for both of us of things that I know you and I are both thankful for, because the list goes on and it goes on and on and on and on and on. I had a myriad of things that I wanted to talk about because, like, even with experiences, I love the experiences that we get to have because we work in the industry, right?
Yeah, we get to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, like going to Nicaragua.
Yeah, you're going to Nicaragua. I'm so excited for you to go to Nicaragua. I can't even tell you.
Get to go to PCA. We meet incredible winemakers. We meet the guys behind the blends, and they just walk through the door. We don't have to go to them. Nicaragua's an anomaly. Like, so many people have come through our door just because we sell their cigars, and we get to meet them, and I would venture to guess 99.9% of the industry has never met them.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, but I mean, in the last year, we've been in here, and we've gone to PCA, we've gone to TPE, or whatever the trade show is, but we've get to talk to Carlito Fuente, and we've met Philippe Melka, and Joseph Wagner was in the shop, a month and a half ago. Yeah. And then the guys from Illusion or the guys from Foundation. Like, yeah, I mean, we are friendly with these people, we
met Eduardo Fernandez, the owner of Aganorsa. Right. There ain't many people that's met that man.
No.
We met Don Pepin Garcia. He sat in the store and then made a cigar for us. Like, I mean, we talked about in the last episode.
These are people who are in these businesses, genuine celebrities and rock stars in that business. And we kind of get to, glad hand and rub shoulders or whatever you want to say with those people. So it's really cool. I mean, we've done some pretty cool things. Like we throw out the goofy stuff. We've got some things coming down the road, the little, I don't want to say gimmicks, but little things that, we're talking about doing, literal barbecue rub and seasoning together, right? And like having those things. We've done a cold brew together this year. We do things like this, things that we create that's our own. That's really cool because we have these opportunities to do it, which we take. What I love about you and what I think we do here is we take advantage of those things. And I don't mean take advantage in a bad way. I mean take advantage like these things are presented to us, and it's okay to do things with those things in a cool fashion. You know, ultimately we're trying to sell these things and everything like that, but we enjoy doing that. We thought doing the cold brew thing was a really cool thing to do. As it turns out, we need to do more because people really have enjoyed the cold brew. And it's like, you know, we talk about, it's like, oh, you got a cold brew, we've got this, we've got cigars and whatever it is. We take advantage of those things. We get to be around this kind of stuff and do those different things. It's really cool.
Yeah. And so, and you know, let's not kid ourselves. The job's not like a lot of people think it is, sitting around smoking cigars all day.
No, it can be occasionally, but
yeah, there's occasional days if we're, you know, slow and we're called up that we can sit
we smoke
around
a cigar every day. There's no shame in that. Like we have time to be able to do that. Now, are you and I a lot of times when we're smoking the cigar, working on our website, preparing orders or whatever it is? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, entertaining a customer or two.
Yeah, and we don't take that for granted by any stretch.
No.
It's a nice perk of the job, but
somebody's got to do it, man.
Yeah, we're willing to make the sacrifice. Yeah. But you know, it's a great industry to work in.
Yeah, you can't. Sorry.
It's a great industry to work in, and you know, like you said, we're thankful for the people that we get to deal with. Most of them, anyways, every day.
Yeah, there's the occasional asshole and prick and everything like that, but that's called retail.
That's called business.
That's called business.
Retail.
Yeah,
is
that's
hard.
called retail. Like you're not gonna love everybody comes through, but I do appreciate you guys in the sense like nobody here ever lets that get to them.
Yeah.
Right. You have to deal with that person. That's
Yeah,
all right. That's just the nature of anything. There's not a person listening to this podcast or walks through our door as a customer who doesn't experience that in their own job or anything else.
Right.
Right. It's what we make of it.
Yep.
So
It
it's been great.
is.
All right. I want to move on to the segment, we'll call it the Christmas wish list, because this is where I think you and I, the banter of what we could talk about gets a little bit more, not heated, but things that we want to see out of this business going forward. I think we can kind of go back and forth too. But I'm going to start. We've talked about this on probably every single podcast we've done. Now, we're not 100 in, we're on number 4. So we're not talking about a lot. But 2024 was the year of limited edition cigars. Okay? Some very, very good. None that I would say would be what I would classify as bad, but for the price, not good. Okay? So this is going to be my wish number 1. And it's going to feel like number 2 is going to contradict it, but you'll see when we get there what I mean. But I would really love to see a manufacturer refocus on their core products. One, because that is what pays the bills. Not just for us, but for them as well. Okay? It's also what put a lot of them on the map. Now, we deal with some, and I'm not talking to very couple of specific ones. There's some who live on the limited edition, right? That's just what they do.
Yeah.
So I get that. But just about everybody we carry in the humidor has a set of core products that's their core products and I think sometimes that can be taken for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If 2024 was the year of limited editions, for me, the other thing it was the year for was, in a lot of instances, the lack of quality control.
So that was going to be my first wish list right
okay,
there.
so this will play nicely together, right? We saw a lot, not a little, a lot of issues with cigars from a whole host of manufacturers. All right, I'm not here to name names and shit like that, but we keep going back to the COVID thing, but COVID ran this ramp of expectations and demand so high that it was very hard to keep up with. And I think the manufacturer had to play catch up. And I get that. You're in the business. You're trying to capitalize on things. But we're out of that. Okay? 2024, in my opinion, was out of that. We saw buying habits. We saw patterns. We saw customer habits that suggest that we were out of that set of circumstances. And there was still a lack of, there's lack of cigars, right? There's a lack of supply. But there was this lack of quality control. And it was a lack of quality control from manufacturers that you would not have expected it from in the past. There's some that just can't get it right. Okay? That's just a fact. There's just some that can't get it right. But some you would not expect that to be coming from them. And it continues to happen over and over again. And we're not sitting on laurels. We mention these things. We say these things like, hey, just so you know, these boxes of cigars are looking like this. They're looking like that. We're customers are bringing them back in. I genuinely think that they want to know that.
They should if they're good business people.
Correct. Yeah, and if they don't, then there's probably no helping that to begin with. You know what I mean? That's probably too far gone. But it was really disappointing to see it from some people that we feel like we trust and everything like that.
I have put out more cigars this year, I think, because they would not draw or would not burn than any year prior. And the frustrating thing about it from a retailer's perspective, we don't make the cigars. We just sell them. But if a customer comes in and buys especially a $15, $20 cigar from us, and that sucker don't draw or don't burn or the wrapper pops, they come back to us looking for us to give them a new cigar. So now, what do? Do we look like assholes and not give them a new cigar even though we didn't make it? Do we refund their money even though we didn't make it? Or do we give them a new cigar and eat the cost of it so that they keep coming back? And
ultimately, that's what we end up doing more times than not.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you come in and say, I dropped this, it's not smoking, okay, I'm sorry, that's your fault.
Yeah, we can have a genuine discussion about that, but that's very rare.
Yeah, there have been so many times this year where someone's been in the lounge and they come back, I saw them buy the cigar out of our humidor. I cut it for them, so I know there was no mishandling there.
Yep.
And 5 minutes later, they come back up to the counter and they're like, this thing's not drawing. And I'm like, okay, well, just go get another one because that's the right thing to do. But screw the company for not having better QC, because now we're essentially losing money because we're replacing this cigar that we did not make. And unfortunately or fortunately, the customer doesn't associate that. Like sometimes I feel like the customer forgets all we do is sell them. We store them and we sell them. We do not make them. We have nothing to do in that process whatsoever at all. Even if our name's on it, like the stocking stuffer, we did the packaging, we did you did the stickers, like we put them in the tubes, but guess what? We still didn't make the cigars. So if you have a problem with one, it's still not our fault.
Right.
And it's so frustrating as a retailer to see that. Getting pictures or calls from customers or messages on Instagram after hours. There was a ball of aluminum foil in a cigar, for God's sake, this year.
I'm still yet to determine how that even humanly happened. We know it happened.
Yeah, we saw the picture.
The person who said it, we saw the picture, but the person that generally who sent this is not fucking with us.
No.
Right? This is not a joke. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't understand how these things happen. And, you know, that's probably the most extreme case of anything we see. But the reality is, you know, outside of a certain set of circumstances, when that happens and the customer comes up, we can't just be like, oh, well, sorry. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, we need to keep the customer.
Right.
We don't have to keep the manufacturer.
Right.
Right.
Well, and see, that's what's frustrating. The customer keeps us accountable, but we can't keep the manufacturers accountable if they don't want to be held accountable anyways.
Right.
Like you said, if you're a good manufacturer, you should want to know that there are issues. Like, I will never forget, and I'm going to say the name of the company because I respect him for what he did. I'll never forget when my friend Mike from Jersey, who I've mentioned before, His favorite daily cigar is the Tatuaje Black Label BC, the little petite Corona.
Yep.
And that dude has smoked more of those cigars than anybody I know in the world.
Yeah.
Like, he has gone through boxes and boxes.
Shout out Mike, who will be a podcast guest sooner than later.
Yeah,
Promise
hopefully.
you. Hopefully. We got you, buddy.
He had an issue with, it was either one box or two boxes back to back, draw issues, wrapper leaf issues, just the whole 9 yards. And he messaged Pete Johnson on Instagram and said, Pete, I'm telling you this because I would want to know this. I'm not trying to complain to you, but these cigars are not drawing. What'd Pete do? Pete said, I need the code on the back. I need to know the day they were rolled. I'm going to find this problem. I'm going to fix it. He then sends Mike another box plus cigars out of his own personal collection to make up for it. Like, that is how you treat a customer, and that's how we want to treat our customers.
That's how we want to treat our, because what happens right there? Mike continues to smoke Tatuaje.
Yep.
If he messages Pete Johnson and Pete says, all right, Mike, like, what do you want me to do here? Like, it is what it is.
I didn't make him.
I didn't make him, like, it happens.
Yep.
You'd be like, oh, fuck, Jesus Christ. I mean, like,
yep.
And it maybe you give it another try because you have a history with it, happens again. Maybe that's the last time you smoke Tatuaje ever again. I mean, that happens all the time. Not just in any business. Like, we all go to a restaurant or, buy a product from the store, whatever it is. And if it doesn't meet expectations, but there's no follow-up or there's no resolution, you're just like, well, I'm just not going to buy it anymore.
Yeah, and I think that the price of the things that we sell has a lot to do with that. Because you bring up restaurants. If I have a bad double cheeseburger from McDonald's, buns dry, it's cold, whatever, I'm going to be frustrated and I probably won't eat it for a little bit, but I'm going to go back to McDonald's and I'm going to get that double cheeseburger again. But if I'm going to a steakhouse here in town, which I went to one recently, and I had a bad experience where my service was terrible, I didn't have water, I didn't have a steak knife, my steak wasn't cooked properly, it wasn't great, and then it was $300, I'm not going to go back there again. So if you're a customer and you're spending $10 or $15 on a cigar, God forbid it's even more, and you have an issue with that, I blame no one for never smoking that cigar again.
That's a great analogy because there is this level of expectation, right?
Yep.
You say that about the McDonald's thing because you're like, listen, it's fast food. It is what it is. So if you were in some rando head shop or, CBD place that carries cigars or gas station, whatever it is, and you got to grab a cigar and it was bad, you would chalk it up to, they don't take care of the stuff or whatever it is. I feel like we're the steakhouse in that analogy. We are tasked, maybe the best word I can think of it, but with this level of expectation of what we do, right? We have your guys' certifications hanging on the wall, certified tobacconist. We have this walk-in humidor that's supposed to be properly humidified and taken care of. Right, so there's a certain level of service and quality.
It's an expectation.
That the customer expects when they walk through the front door, right? So that plays it perfectly into that analogy.
Yeah, and that's like I said, my first wish is for quality control and consistency in the industry to get better, because for me, that is the number one problem outside of availability. But I feel like availability's gotten better, sans a couple companies.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. I think supply is ticking up.
Yeah.
That is a good sign.
So that is the number one thing that causes me headaches on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, I feel like it's worse this year. I've experienced it more personally this year. I feel like the folks that work here have experienced it more this year. And from companies, like you said, that we're not used to seeing that out of.
Yeah, and that gets disappointing because I think... And you tell me if you think differently of this, but I would, and maybe feel different as a customer, but I would rather, as a manufacturer or retailer, tell you that I don't have your cigars because I can't get them right now because they're working on them versus having them because they rushed them out.
Yeah, so it was funny. I had a conversation with a customer yesterday, and I won't name the cigar, but it's a cigar we very rarely get, very rarely. I say more rarely than Opus, that he bought at our High Point location, and he bought 2 of them. And as soon as he lit those cigars up, the wrapper leaves cracked right down the middle, and he said the cigar was nothing like it used to be. And it's from a company that, and this is not an inexpensive cigar. This is a $20 cigar from a company that has consistent issues with quality control and supply for that matter. And it's just like, that's the occasion where it really sucks because we can't replace that cigar.
No.
We don't have it, and God knows when we'll get it again.
Yeah.
And so it just really sucks because then you just have to be empathetic with them of, I get it, man. Like, that really sucks. Like, you hate to say learn a lesson from it, but I mean, I'll tell you this, I wouldn't buy it again.
Yeah. But the reality is we put it out on the shelf.
Yeah.
Right?
If it's on the shelf, it's almost like it's a stamp of approval from the Pipe and Pint.
That is exactly what I was going to say. And the reality is, it's the old adage that, shit flows downhill. Like, we're the last attachment to the product before it reaches the customer's hands. And whether we got it in the condition that they got it or not, it reflects poorly on us.
Yeah, and that's why, like, the one thing, I do my best to not take things that people say in here personally, especially when someone's...
you can't.
You just can't do that. But the one thing that I do take personally is when someone comes in and says the cigars that they bought from us were dry. And it very rarely happens.
Yeah.
And it usually happens from someone that's not a regular customer that doesn't know a lot about cigars. And I would venture to guess that they weren't stored properly or something like that. But don't come in here insulting me and insulting the business, more importantly, for the way that we maintain our cigars, because we take pride in that.
Yep.
And if your cigars aren't humidified, there's probably a reason, and that reason is probably because we just got them in that day and they just came off the truck and they hadn't sat in the humidor for an extended period of time, and that usually only happens with full boxes of things that we have been out of.
Yep.
But that is such a rare occasion, and that's the double-edged sword right there of retail, because as a listener, you're probably saying, well, why don't you keep them in the humidor for 2 weeks to let them acclimate? I don't know. Like, we need the money. Like, this is still a business. We're not going to lose a sale just because we got the cigars in. How about the company that sold us the cigars? Make sure they're properly humidified when they go on the truck, because we get cigars in 2 days. Cigars should not dry out in 2 days on the truck. I don't care what time of year it is.
Yeah, no matter what time of the year, that's just not going to happen.
No, so if they come in here and they're dry, that means that wherever they were stored, they were also dry. They weren't properly humidified. But again, it looks bad on us.
Yeah, and the reality is, not, humble brag on us, but cigars don't sit on our shelves for very long.
No.
The reality is they go from UPS box to our shelf to a consumer pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So the reality is they don't really have time to dry out.
Yeah, you're not looking around the humidor box checking, not box date checking. Like, you used to be able to a little bit, but like,
yeah, sure.
That was a long time ago. And unless you're looking at El Rey, there ain't nothing in there that's been on the shelf that long.
Yeah, yeah. Because, we were kind of banging on the COVID days a little bit, but the reality is COVID did introduce a lot of new cigar smokers, right? The demand from existing, I think, consumers probably flattened a little bit, because the existing customer we had during that time was smoking more than they were on any sort of basis, and now back to work, whatever it is. But there was a lot of new introduction, so you get that new demand in there. The stuff's just not sitting around. It's not drying out in the humidor or anything like that. All right, give me a wish list.
Oh, well, I know number 2 is the one thing that we had in common.
All right, let's talk about number 2.
So number 2, the one thing that I wish for more than anything other than for QC issues to be fixed is for the cigar industry to continue to innovate.
Agreed.
And that goes to your point of, well, that sounds contradictory because you said that you're thankful for tradition.
Right. So I said I was thankful for tradition. I also had a wish list of going back to core. From the retail business owner's perspective, there is a ton of, and maybe innovation. Well, innovation is not a bad word in the sense that it's not what I'm talking about, because I do want them to continue to innovate. I'm not personally talking about, I want new creative cigars and goofy stuff. Like, let's try something different. You want to do that, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. There's a lot of things that I feel like our business lags behind the rest of the business world in.
So this is
right.
This is interesting because my innovation was new cigars and stuff. So
okay.
I'm excited.
All right, so
I think I know where you're going
different
with
perspective on it, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
From my perspective as the business owner, I think that a lot of manufacturers are lacking innovation in the sense of innovation with their business. You may not like social media. You may think it's stupid. You may not like participating in it. But the reality is these types of things are where your customer resides. We've talked about this in here is how do we reach a new demographic, right? For any business to survive, you can't just have your existing business as it is age out or wane out and then not refill, the coffers, for lack of a better word. You need to continue to reach new customers. And I think there's a lack of innovation. I could think of a handful of manufacturers right now. It's like, oh, we just started doing like social media and stuff like that. And it's
like good for you, but you're kind of behind.
Yeah. You're right. Okay. So you're already 10 years behind. Just keep that in mind. And then you're not doing a very good job of it because you don't want to pay somebody to do it. And I'm not just talking about social media. There is so much innovation in the ordering process that could be taken advantage of.
Yeah. The online portal needs to be a thing.
How and why that's not a thing. That is not a knock on reps.
At all.
We have great relationships with our reps, and I understand why they're in the business.
Yep.
This is not something to eliminate their job. It's something to make everybody's job that much easier. Why in this day and age we're not able to just go online? Now, that's not with everybody. There are some taking advantage of this, but why we can't just go and place our order through that baffles me to this day. I mean, we are a small business. We've got 5 stores. We have a shop. We've got a good website where people can order to pick up, order to ship. We do it every single day, right? We take advantage of apps with our wine selling and everything like that. There are sections where they're just not participating in. I don't know if it's an age gap thing. I don't know if it's just a not wanting to do it. I think there can be in the cigar business sometimes a reliance on like they're going to buy it. So what does it matter?
This is almost like too much tradition.
Correct.
This is how we've always done it, and it's worked.
If it's worked so far, why wouldn't it continue to work?
Yes, that's exactly right. Like we talk about reps. Like I shout out our Zeno Avo Camacho Davidoff rep. Love him. He's a good friend of ours, friend of the business. They have an online portal that we can order through.
Yeah.
And we utilize that some. But he's also out here still putting cigars in our hands, still working deals that you can't use the technology for. Yeah, that's not something to
eliminate what he does.
Yeah,
this is something to allow him to better display and talk about his product versus
all he's worried about is putting in orders. Yeah.
Working on orders. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes his life easier. It makes our life easier. He can focus on his job, which is selling cigars. We can focus on our job, which is selling cigars. And, it's so much simpler. And I think that reps so many times are intimidated and almost scared of an online portal. But those reps are the ones that need to get their shit together.
Yeah.
Because if you're scared of an online portal, that means you're probably not very good at your job. And you're just going in shops to hang out and smoke a cigar instead of trying to sell your product. And that's not what we want because we ain't got time for that.
No.
And that shouldn't be what you want either. You should be wanting to make as much money as possible. As most of these guys are commission.
You're a commission sales guy 90% of the time.
Yeah, you're in sales. You're not sitting around smoking cigars.
We got manufacturing reps who still aren't utilizing a digital ordering system internally.
Yeah.
Like they don't even use like an iPad or a tablet or a phone to put it in. They're still emailing or calling in the office. There's just this for a business that is such a well-oiled machine at in a lot of ways in the manufacture process. It may be a primitive machine in a lot of ways. Like I said, you'll get to very much see this. Like Perdomo is a great example of that when you go see it. Taking advantage of some modern technologies, but in a primitive way. You'll see, things that shake the seeds and stuff like that. And you'd be like, that's pretty cool. Why is it made from a box crate? That kind of thing. It's because what you have.
Yeah.
But you're a well-oiled machine to right there, and then you start throwing kinks in the chain, right? And we see this. We see this all the time. And I'm not banging on this, but this is coming from my side, who owns the business and responsible for putting it. Goes in, and it comes, and it's not right. The order comes, and there's 3 or 4 boxes missing. It's not the right box. It's just such an avoidable consequence, right? Like, it's just not something you need to do. And again, not banging on the rep. You're given what you're given, but you could also be like, hey, why are we not doing this? Why can't we do this? What is the harm in doing it like this? You know what I mean? There was a business for a while there that kind of got stifled out that I thought, if done properly, could have done a really good job of creating an online portal universally. But it just never really took off. And, maybe it's because there was a lot of resistance to it. And I get, there's a lot of people in your and I's position, business owner and manager, right-hand man kind of thing, who don't look at it the way you and I look at it. They're happy doing it the old school way. Love having the guy come in and sit down in their lounge or whatever it is, or I'll call the orders in, kiss the ring kind of thing. I get that. But you and I have had these discussions. How can we bring new customers in? And we need, I'd love to say that we can take that on ourselves, and I feel like we do in a lot of ways, but our reach is only so large and our brand is only so large. We're trying to build that. We do things to build our brand recognition up, but there's a certain level of brand recognition that our Fuente already has, that Perdomo already has, right? That they could be utilizing, in my opinion, in a better way.
I agree with you.
Do you say so? So that's where my angle of innovation comes from. Like, there are so many things. The internet has has shrunk the world, right? Information, the software out there is so easy to get, and it really is inexpensive in the grand scheme of things, and what this can do to help your business operate.
Yeah, it's not you're having to write code to develop a software, to develop a program.
And I get it. I use a lot of automation tools with our business, things that take those things off our plate, so there's a premium to be paid for them, but it's also an employee that doesn't have to handle that. It's an employee that doesn't have to be paid to do that, whether it's filing things, data entry, whatever it is. And again, I get it. Sometimes, I like thinking that we're on a leading edge of doing those types of things. I mean, I think it's cool that, we get people like reps who say, hey, could this guy email you guys are doing this? Is really cool and stuff like that. I think that's cool, but I think that just more can be done to push it forward. You don't have to, I'm not talking like dive off a cliff, but let's, dip our toes in the water a little bit to see what those things could do, because it makes everybody, it can make that quality control issue that we talked about so much less prevalent if we're utilizing those things. And like I said, it's so interesting to me looking at it that the manufacturing piece is so intricate. It's so razor thin. You know what I mean? Like I said, I can't wait for you to see this, but it's so razor thin with the guys who are rolling and paid by the piece that it falls off once it leaves there. It really does feel like once they come stateside that things start to fall off a little bit. Like things get a little wonky.
Yeah. So for me, innovation, and I'm going to shout out 2 companies and 2 cigars specifically here. And this is coming, yes, it's coming from a retailer side, but this is coming from a cigar nerd perspective. I love what Illusione and Aladino have done this year with new tobaccos being introduced in cigars.
Yes.
Group of 5 specifically, and then, Aladino's done a bunch. Cameroon Reserva was awesome. That was the first cigar ever made using 100% Honduran Cameroon. Like, they've done a bunch of stuff, but the Group of 5 is front runner for my favorite cigar that's come out this year. And that cigar, it's got a somewhat gimmicky story, but the whole shtick is it's got tobacco in it that's never been grown or hasn't been grown in Nicaragua in a very long time. And when that cigar came out, it's $16. Let's talk about pricing for a second. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I smoked it, and I said to Milk Guy and to you, this cigar is worth $16 because there's nothing else in the humidor that it tastes like. Like, nothing else in the humidor compares to what it tastes like because it has this new tobacco in it that Dion found and he's utilizing. And in a world and time and day where you and I both know whether the companies want to admit it to or not, so many cigars are just flipped wrapper leaf, binder leaf, filler leaf. All they're doing is flipping these leaves and they're introducing it as a new cigar or an exclusive cigar. That's the stuff that gets me excited because that's the stuff that I can talk about. Like if a customer comes in and says, what do you have that's new? Okay, I've got this new cigar from this company. It's this blend, but it's got a different wrapper leaf on it. Okay, whatever. Like if you like that wrapper leaf, I guess try it.
Yeah.
But when you've got something that's innovative, that's new, that's exciting, shout out.
So that's the innovation I like.
Yeah.
Right? Not just another, like you said, oh, yeah, it's this, and we threw another different wrapper on it. Or, oh, no, it's, Peepaw's 39th, whatever.
Yeah. Like
Quinceanera.
I appreciate,
we're slapping on a thing, and we want to charge $75 for it.
Exactly.
That's not innovation to me.
Yep.
And I'm with you on what that, for sure.
And I appreciate what bigger companies like Placencia have done with highlighting a region, Ometep, that is a much smaller region that you don't see a lot of companies utilizing their tobacco, to even smaller companies now, like Kyle at Warped with the Sarto that just came out. Like that Ometep tobacco has such a uniqueness to it that you can taste in the flavor profile, and I love it. And guess what? Those cigars sells because as a retailer, I get excited, and a cigar nerd, I get excited about it. And then when I get excited about it, I can in a much easier way, get the customer excited about it. And all of those cigars that I've just mentioned have been rebuys. And I just feel like let's talk about AJ with the Dias de Gloria Brazil. Like that cigar was innovative, different wrapper leaf from a different region. Like AJ's known for Nicaragua. He's gone to Brazil now to get this wrapper leaf and he's put it, and that cigar is awesome. One of the best cigars from this year. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited that I want to see more of because I'm tired of reading, oh, this cigar is a Habano wrapper leaf with Nicaraguan binders and Nicaraguan Dominican fillers. Okay, well, it's going to taste the same as this, and this cigar.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it's going to have this manufacturer's twist or flair on it, or maybe the tobacco's a little bit better, so it's a little bit better or a little bit different, but it's the same thing. And there are companies doing it, but there aren't enough of them, in my opinion. And I like that, and
I love it too. And I'll give anybody way more credit for going out on a limb and doing something different, and maybe it doesn't hit. Okay, I get it. That doesn't always work that way, but I'll give you way more credit for trying something different, for doing something new, than wrapping it in something different and putting a different band on it, a different foot band, and calling it,
Yeah, and I mean, the one caveat to this, and it goes back to your limited edition thing. The one thing that I don't appreciate from the innovation standpoint, don't tell me your cigar is innovative because you're not telling us where the tobacco came from and then you're charging $30 for it.
Yeah.
There's one company that comes to mind specifically that does that, and it pisses me off beyond belief because all you're doing is telling me,
yeah,
like,
you're just telling me it's the same as a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you to know that.
Correct, and by the way, I'm going to charge you
a
lot more for it, and have fun. It's the best thing ever. It's like, dude, your cigar sucks. Like, it's just not good. And consumer data shows that that is not just mine or your opinion. If there are no rebuys on it, then guess what? The vast majority of people out there see through the bullshit and realize your cigar sucks.
Yeah. If it's just the same old thing with a goofy band on it, it only takes one time trying it to figure it out.
Yeah, customers will give you one shot.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
They'll give you one shot,
especially if you're a brand that is known for other things that comes out of quality. They're going to give you a shot.
Anyways, third and final wish list for you. Give it to me.
You start this one.
So I'm going to change this.
Okay.
I told you what I thought it was going to be before. And this is something that I can personally impact. I can make a difference with this. I wish for a more educated consumer.
Interesting.
So I think we do a very good job here at the shop.
Yep.
Educating consumers about brands, about tobacco, and everything like that. And one of the reasons we do that is because we want you to know. But one of the big reason, the selfish reason we do that is because the best customer for us is the educated consumer. Because that's the consumer that can go in, help themselves when we are busy.
Yep.
They don't need their hand held
Yep.
and whatnot. The most annoying conversations we have in here are about Cuban cigars, are about your old Monte Cristo White, your Romeo, like these old legacy brands that people used to smoke that, like, the only reason, and this isn't a knock on Cohiba or Monte Cristo, like the only reason you're bringing these up is because someone told you about them or because you read in some big magazine that's what you should be smoking.
Or you saw it in a
movie
or whatever
yeah.
it is.
And as a
Where
retailer...
where are our Cubans at? Are they in the humidor?
Yeah, they're upstairs. They're in the vault.
That's weird because we get asked about it all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That to me is the most frustrating thing. And I decided to change it to that because that is something like... I don't want this to just be a bitch fest. Like, this isn't us complaining about things we don't like in the industry. Like,
no, but
I like it to be proactive in a way that, like, how can we make an impact on this? And that's one of the reasons we started the podcast. Like,
yeah,
we want to be able to educate each and every person out there about tobacco, about wine, about pipes, about beer, so that if they ever move or they're somewhere else and they walk into a store and they don't have the help, they can walk in and they can know what they're looking at and know that what they're talking about so that they don't get screwed over, so they don't buy a bad cigar. Like, and that goes back to the thing that does bring me joy. Like, I like teaching people about these things, and the educated consumer is the consumer that is oftentimes good for us and is the one that's easy to work with.
Yeah. And there's a there's a certain level of education, right? There's the falsely educated, if that you know, that
there's the know-it-all,
you know, there's the
out
know-it-alls, right? But again, that goes down to the same person. That's just retail. That's just what you're going to have to deal with. But I agree with you. Like, our customers coming in. So let's go tie nicely into my third. All right. So I don't want to be a business owner who talks the talk but doesn't walk the walk, right? So I told you we're thankful for customers, but for me, wish list 2025 is that we in this shop, in all of our shops as a company, we innovate and grow, right? We do new things to educate our consumer, bring them quality products that we can get at a quality price, right? Not just everything that gets presented to us. We don't do that. Every rep that doesn't walk in here shows us this cutter, this lighter, this cigar. We don't just say, oh, yeah, I'll take 5 of them, right? We take a heartfelt approach to what our consumer does. We track data. We know what sells in here. So for me, going forward, doing new things and providing those things is a big deal, right? We're lucky enough to have a brand that was started by Larry that we've been able to build on, go from 1 store to 5 stores. People really enjoy coming in here, right? We know a lot of people who really like coming in here. We bump into people all the time. I bump into people all the time. It's like, oh, you own the Pipe and Pint, or, oh, I go to the Pipe and Pint, or, oh, I haven't been over there in a while. I got to come over, stuff like that. Doing different things to continue to grow that customer base, but not forget about what got us there, right? The customer who comes in here, you know, the lounge lizards may drive us crazy on a daily basis with certain stuff, but we enjoy having them here, having a great spot for them to come smoke cigars, having the cigars they smoke, doing different events. You know, we started out, we've got the mobile experience that if you're listening to this, you may or may not have been to an event where you have that out. You're going to see us at different things. You're going to see us at bigger events. We did our tailgate event this year for the very first time. I think that's an event we're probably continuing every year. The way we did our pipe show this year, right? It was our biggest ever because we're able to reach those consumers. We're able to do things differently, make it an experience for those guys who want to buy that stuff, something really cool that they want to come hang out and do. So for me, it's doing those things. And that comes from the business owner. Obviously, I want that to flow down to you guys in all the shops and want to have that experience with everybody. But I think it's important for us to continue to grow to new customers, but also continue to support the people who got us there, right?
Yeah. And, if you call the shop and you get our answering machine, or you go on our Facebook and you read our tagline, it's tobacconist to the triad since 1998.
Yep.
And for me, personally, I don't know everything, and I don't claim to know everything about cigars and wine and beer and whatever. But I want us as a company to be known as this is the place where I go to find what I like, to find out more things about what I like.
That's right.
And it's like I had an old rep who used to be in the Carolinas. He moved back to Texas, and he texted me one night after work and said, "Hey man," and I ain't heard from him in a year. "Hey man, can I get a wine recommendation from you?" Like, I'm his wine guy. Same thing with the old Perdomo rep who's traveling the world now. He texted me the other day and said, "Hey, which vintage of this should I get?"
Yep.
Like, that's cool for us, but it's also what we want to be for for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, if you come in, our job is to know your palate, to know what you like so that we can put you in the right cigar and tell you about that cigar and tell you why you like that cigar. So that way, when you're giving us $10, $15, $20 for your one cigar, you can do it confidently.
That's right.
And that's why I say I want and wish for a better educated consumer, because it helps us in the long run.
Yep. Yeah. Episode 4 wrapped up, buddy. I like it.
I can't wait for the next episode because
so you are
I am excited.
You have something special for the next episode. I don't know what it is.
Nope.
I'm not quite sure that I want to know what it is, to be honest with you.
I'm not telling you.
I believe it's going to be sprung on me. So we'll have another episode in a couple weeks. We'll do maybe...
we're doing the Dundies, the Pipe and Pinties.
Well, the Pipe and Pinties. I don't know if that'll be the next episode. It'll probably be the one after that, right after the first of the year. We'll probably squeeze one in between that, do the Pipe and Pinties. So we'll have some awards. Yeah, I think we'll give out our first ever cigar of the year. I know not only customers but manufacturers that I've heard from are chomping at the bit to know if they've won our cigar of the year.
Yeah.
It's a very, very big deal. It is the first one, but it is a very big deal.
Yeah, I am going to give out a special award, the biggest clown award, and there's a story with that, and I can't wait to tell it.
All right, well, we appreciate it. Episode 4 in the books. We'll see everybody soon. We appreciate it. Thanks,
Yes,
bud.
sir.